We're talking about speeding. Are you prone to doing a bit of speeding? Maybe you've been done in the past and you've been sent on one of those speed awareness courses. I have. Should you be punished then for going just 1 mile per hour over the speed limit? Sounds a bit harsh, but the man in charge of policing Britain's roads says it's time to stop being soft with speeding motorists. Now, he says the 10% discretionary buffer that you've got at the moment should go, and he says that speed awareness courses are being used too widely. Is he right? Have we got to get far tougher if we want to make the roads safer? Chief Constable Anthony Bangham says that traffic officers should stop being apologetic for handing out fines and speeders should stop whinging about being caught. Critics say it'll make criminals of good drivers. They go on to say that drivers will now be looking at their speedometer rather than looking at the road, and this in turn will lead to more accidents. Now, what he's proposing is that anybody that goes over by between 1 and 10% should go on a speed awareness course. Now, typically that costs 90 quid. Any more than 10% over the limit, and you'll automatically get a minimum of 3 points and a fine of at least £100. So would that lot get you to slow down? If you've been on a speed awareness course, what did you make of it? Is it a soft form of punishment? I learnt a lot, I have to say, and was astonished by the range of people in the room with me. It's a real leveller. Everybody speeds, it would appear. Everybody from the 17-year-old to the managing director of a local company, they were all in that room together. Maybe the problem is that we all tend to drive at the speed which we consider to be safe at any one time, and we're ignoring the speed limits. So do you support the Chief Constable here saying you should be punished for going just 1 mile per hour over the speed limit? 01642 225511. Text me 81333 and then start your text message with the word "Tees." Let's see if Howard Cox likes the sound of this, founder of the motoring campaign group Fair Fuel UK. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning.
Is he talking sense?
Well, look, there's two aspects to this. I mean, no one condones dangerous driving, but you can be doing dangerous driving at 15 mile an hour with 40 people behind you, and that person wouldn't be prosecuted because people are getting frustrated behind because they can't get past them. We've all been victims of that sort of situation.
No, but hang on, Howard, you're far less likely to cause a problem driving at 15 miles an hour.
Yes, you are. I've seen so many times. I mean, behind tractors, for example, people get very frustrated and they become dangerous as a result. And I'm not condoning this. Please understand that. I run a campaign of 1.5 million supporters, and this morning I've had 1,700 emails about this particular article we're talking about now, this news article. The point is, has that police constable ever driven 1 mile over the limit? How do you measure it? With older cars, with speedometers not so accurate. My sat-nav, for example, says I'm doing 35, and yet my speedometer says I'm doing 32. And I think the people that went out on this are the lawyers, picking up money for actually sort of contesting how these are measured.
So you think the technology on both sides, my speedometer, but also their ability to clock me, are simply not accurate enough?
Well, absolutely. It can't be done. And there's not enough police on the roads. Let's be clear. We do not condone dangerous driving, but driving 33 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone is not dangerous, provided you're not driving dangerously. Modern cars now, you only have to touch them a little bit and they move, they accelerate quickly past the 30. If a policeman sees that, they're going to criminalise 37 million UK drivers going about their honest day's work, going to work, and, their necessary lifestyles. They have to do things, and they could be criminalised, and that'd be wrong.
But breaking the speed limit can never be right, can it?
No, it's not right. We're not. I mean, the point is, why waste the police time trying to stop people going 33 mile an hour when they should be trying to catch real criminals? This is going to alienate people. I'm backed by the Road Haulage Association, the Freight Transport Association, and other professional bodies who actually need the roads, and they do not condone dangerous driving. But this particular article from this Chief Constable coming out saying that anyone doing 31 is a criminal is just so asinine and puerile.
They are a criminal if they break the speed limit.
They're not a criminal. I think that is absolutely wrong. And I've been doing. They're not. They're not. These people. I mean, I'm sorry. Have you ever sped?
Yes, I have.
On the speedway.
Yes, I've been on the course. Yeah.
Yes, and I drove back to my office this morning to take this interview, and I went through 30 mile an hour zone, and I was doing 32. So I broke the law. So I mean, there's no one on this planet that hasn't sped. So how is this going to be policed? Sorry to use that, the obvious word. How is this going to be looked after? And where's that money going to go? Is it going to go back to repairing potholes or something like that? No, it's going into policing.
Where does the money go at the moment?
Well, at the moment, it goes into police awareness, because into profitability of running the police. That's what we understand. There's lots of people making lots of money out of police awareness courses. You said £90, but there's some police awareness courses in Kent here. They're £150.
It does vary depending on where you live, but
yes,
typically it's £90.
Yeah.
Have you been on one of those courses?
No, I haven't. I've only had, in all my life, 3 points, and it was £80 at the time for doing 34 and a 30 mile an hour in a village in Kent, and that's what I was done for. And I was angry about it, but I accepted it, took it on the chin, no problem at all.
All right, I take your point, Howard. That to be done doing 31 in a 30 limit is probably a bit unreasonable. But wouldn't it mean that you'd start driving at 27? You'd start driving way under just to be on the safe side.
Well, that's what's going to happen, and people.
Well, what's wrong with that?
There's going to be clock watching, speedo, not concentrating roads. Already, people are looking out for potholes rather than looking at the road way ahead. All sorts of things are going wrong with it. There's no roads transport strategy. We're the highest tax motorists in the world, and also the most persecuted motorists in the world, and that's getting worse with these stupid comments from the Chief Constable.
All right, Howard Cox, founder of the motoring campaign group Fair Fuel UK. Is he right? 01642 225511. This Chief Constable, the man in charge of policing our roads, says, and I quote, traffic officers should stop being apologetic for handing out fines. Speeders should stop whinging about being caught. Has he got a point? Let's talk to Nick Freeman, the lawyer known as Mr. Loophole, for his skill in finding legal loopholes whilst defending his clients on motoring offences. Nick, good morning to you once again.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning.
Is he right to take this tough line?
No, he's not right. I mean, listen, he's absolutely right to say he's proud to be a law enforcer, and I don't think there's anyone in the country behind the criminals who wouldn't agree with that. And what the public would like to see is the police dealing with criminals, as opposed to saying we're going to give the green light to people who shoplift under £200. We're not interested in burglars. We're not interested in fraud. We're not actually interested in the vast majority of crime. That's what the police are supposed to do. It's 10% plus one. That's the tolerance zone. That's part of the ACPO guidelines. That's their own guidelines, and that's there for many reasons. One of the reasons, as your previous contributor said, was because the equipment is inaccurate, and it would be ridiculous. Every car has equipment that is not completely accurate. Some of the police detection equipment isn't completely accurate. And so we'd have the most ridiculous situation where people will be contesting every single offence.
Well, he must know that. I mean,
you'd think he'd know that, but you'd think he'd have more sense than coming out with the sort of comment he said today. We don't want drivers to be totally obsessed with speedometers to the extent that they're ignoring what's going on around them. And there is absolutely no public interest whatsoever in criminalising the motorists who, by and large, are hard-working people trying to get about as safely as they can on our heavily congested roads, when you are actually letting criminals off because we're not even beginning to touch these people. There's a massive shortage of resources, and I don't think anyone would ever condone anyone driving stupidly or dangerously. And, these speed awareness courses, these should be given to people who are massively exceeding the speed limit in conjunction with other punishments. The people who marginally exceed the speed limit are clearly cognizant of the fact that the speed limit's there, and it's there for good reason. And it's a total misconception to say we're going to give you a course, because all that's doing is actually raising money, and people are making massive profits out of it for people who actually don't need it, people who marginally exceed the speed limit. We need to tackle the serious offenders, the people, we see them occasionally driving at 85 miles an hour in a 30-40. Those are the people that should be targeted and tackled. And the problem is there aren't any police on our roads. But his comments, in my view, are totally ridiculous, and I'm trying to refrain myself from saying anything unprofessional, but they are totally ridiculous, and I don't think there will be anyone in the country who would seriously agree with them, and they are totally unenforceable, and you would alienate the British motoring public.
Right. I think what I would, if this were to come in, Nick, I think what I would start doing, if I was driving in a 30 area, I would make absolutely sure I was well under, and in reality, I'd start driving at 25.
Yes, everyone, you already see it now, don't you? You see it on the smart motorways. It's 50 miles an hour, so people are sitting at 40, 42 miles an hour. It's costing the economy billions of pounds a year because people are not getting from A to B in the time that they should do. So when we're much slower, it costs us a lot of money, and the economy is struggling at the moment. So we need to be sensible, we need to be proportionate, we need to be reasonable. And the comment that he's made today, apart from he's proud to be a law enforcer, I'm pleased about that. I'm sure the public are. Get on with law enforcement and stop trying to criminalise the motorist who marginally breaks the law.
All right, thank you, Nick Freeman. There we are, who's a lawyer. So what's your reaction to this then? This Chief Constable, he's called Anthony Bangham, is in charge of policing our roads, says that we've got to get tough with speeding motorists. Is this the best way of doing it? You might think that some of the speed... It's interesting, Nick was mentioning that perhaps, the speed limits are unnecessarily low in some cases. We've got the A66, running through Middlesbrough, and there's a speed limit of 50 miles an hour on that, for example. You might wonder why it's got a limit of 50 on it, when normally on a dual carriageway it is 70. 81333, start your text message with the word Tees. Let's see what's coming in. Malcolm in Darlington says, going over the speed limit by 1 mile per hour is madness. The police should be going after those people who are dangerously over the limit, and the penalties for them should be much higher.